Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Black Ops 6 multiplayer here in Season 3 Reloaded, we ended up seeing a new meta update and weapons update go out. We obviously got the introduction of the new LADRA SMG. We also saw several different weapon buffs and nerfs. And so now, after the update has gone out, wanted to go through and break down the new top 10 best weapons you want to be running for a multiplayer here. Starting first with one of my personal favorites. This is sort of my go-to constantly whenever I jump back onto multiplayer, trying to grind out maybe an event for some XP or do some challenges or whatever. I'm defaulting to the KSV. I just love the feel of this thing in multiplayer. An SMG that's got range, it's got versatility, it's easy to use. Checking all the right boxes here. First up, I just find myself being very comfortable with a red dot on here, so I go for the Kepler Microflex. If you're comfortable with the irons, you could throw on a compensator, replace this with that. You could use a different optic if you're more comfortable with something else, but for me, this works really, really well. I do go for long barrel. Why not get a better damage range out of this? Make it even more versatile. We're up to almost 18 meters, which is pretty solid considering how small most of the Black Ops 6 maps are. Also, I spend a lot of time in small map mosh pits. Ranger foregrip for some better control and sprinting movement speed, so the weapon's easier and it's faster. That's a win-win. Ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire speed. I'm doing a lot of slide canceling, so that helps out a ton. Better ADS and jumping ADS as well, so the weapon's just more aggressive overall. And balanced stock for better strafe and better general movement. Again, helping out with that agility and that mobility, making this gun super, super aggressive and still just as easy to use because those don't really have any cons. Like I said, this is sort of my default, my go-to. Love the feel of this thing. Now, if I'm not feeling an SMG, my other default typically is the XM4. Love the feel of this as well. Doesn't get much easier than this, especially with this setup on here. This is a point and shoot laser beam style weapon. You don't have to work to get kills with this thing. It does it for you. There is such a low entry barrier, such a low skill gap involved with this weapon, yet such a high reward at the same time. So here again, going for Kepler Microflex, just a nice little red dot, keeping things clean, works perfect for the BO6 size maps. Compensator, better vertical control, makes the gun just a tad bit easier as you are fighting with that. Ranger foregrip, why not get some horizontal control, plus make it a little bit more aggressive, obviously, for multiplayer gameplay, which is a little bit faster. Sprinting movement speed, never a bad thing to, increase where you can. Balanced stock here as well for the better movement and better strafe, very noticeable on a rifle build like this. And then free recoil control, horizontal and vertical with recoil springs on there. So like I said, this thing is a laser beam. You don't have to work to control it all that much, and it will melt at all ranges. Next up here, we've got the brand new LADRA. As always, you guys know whenever we do a new top 10, whether it's for Warzone or multiplayer after a weapons update, I'm always talking about the new weapons if they are there. And the LADRA being a new SMG is a fun little change up to the SMG meta. It definitely requires you to land upper body shots for it to feel good. I've had situations where I definitely know that I hit the arms or I hit the lower body, and it's like I am getting hit markers galore. And then the next fight, I hit a headshot or two or an upper torso shot or two, and it's like, oh, that guy stood no chance. I'm frying him, right? So it's a little bit inconsistent with your aim, depending on where you're landing shots. But if you are aim trained with this thing, you're familiar with the recoil, it's got a high upside. It just is a lot of fun to run around with. I do enjoy my time with this thing so far. Here again, rocking that compensator, making it a little bit easier to use, ensuring I can stay on target with the upper body as much as I possibly can. Why not go for a long barrel, make that range even better? 25.5 meters for an SMG is pretty absurd, so that's really, really good there. Ranger foregrip, mobility, and control. Extended one typically is not something I use, or really extended mags in general in multiplayer, but with the rate of fire that's 1071, yeah, you're gonna want some extra ammo, or you're gonna be spending a lot of time reloading. So that's a huge added safety net there. And then ergonomic rear grip again for the slide to fire, the ADS speed benefits there, just making this thing even more aggressive. But yeah, a nice fresh face in the SMG in the close range meta, and it feels pretty good. Now the Kilo saw some slight adjustments in Season 3 Reloaded, but overall it's still an incredibly easy weapon to use. Low recoil, great range, great damage as well. So if you're looking for something that is reliable and consistent, this is a fantastic choice. Of course, very similar to the XM4 in a lot of ways. Here again, going for the Kepler. The irons aren't too bad here. I've sort of messed around with them, and if you want to rock those and switching over for something for control or mobility, again, absolutely feel free to do so. Adjust these setups as you need for your personal play style. I always want to just have these as like a basis, a starting point for you guys, and then you can tweak them as you see necessary. But Kepler works for me. Long barrel, again, added range here, always solid 38 meter effective damage range, makes this thing lethal on pretty much every single map in the game. Vertical foregrip helps out with some horizontal control, just makes it a lot easier to use. plus some recoil stabilization. Why not, right? quick draw rear grip, nice and snappy ADS here for a rifle, and then free recoil through recoil springs yet again, plus that recoil stabilization that for whatever reason only shows up on like the new season 3 weapons. Not sure why that is, but also not complaining. It's making the gun easier, and that's never a bad thing, right? By the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video, you find the info helpful, be sure to drop a like on it. It's always really appreciated. Help share the video around. And if you're new to the channel, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, we should change that every single day. I got you covered with all things you need to know for Call of Duty, whether it's multiplayer, Warzone, what's coming up soon, what just changed. There's Call of Duty info you need to know. I'm covering it here on the channel, so feel free to hit that subscribe button to always stay up to date. The C9, another fantastic run and gun style option, pretty versatile as well for a sub. It feels pretty strong in some mid-range fights, and it's also very easy to use. Super clean irons here, so straight up I am just going for the long barrel right away, extending out that damage range to nearly 20 meters. You love to see that. Ranger foregrip, yet again. You can't tell, it's a pretty solid option here for multiplayer gameplay. Ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire ADS benefits, and balanced stock for the movement and strafe benefits, so this thing's feeling real aggressive here. And then I do offer some control recoil springs. I'll do a little bit more than just the compensator in terms of like horizontal control and whatnot. Won't do as much vertically, but it's also pretty easy to use vertically, so this sort of takes away some concerns there and just makes the weapon super predictable and really consistent, whether you're fighting face to face or across you know, a sight line or a choke point. This thing's gonna get the job done pretty efficiently. After that, I've got the AMES. I really love the feel of this thing in multiplayer. It is a low recoil melt machine. Higher fire rate really just feels like you beam players across the map. You can take players off of headies, you could take them out in the open, fight them at a disadvantage, whether it's 1-on-2, you're pushing to spawn, it's 1-on-3. This thing's got the capability to do so much here in multiplayer as an aggressive rifle. Even this setup is not super aggressive in terms of how it's built, but the weapon just plays like that. So again, Kepler Microflex here, liking the look of that. Compensator makes the recoil very straightforward on this thing. Vertical foregrip helping out that horizontal control. If you're already comfortable with it, feel free to try out Ranger and see if that added mobility and slightly lesser horizontal control still works well for you. Never a bad option there. Rate of fire being a little bit faster here at 750. I do like extended one, just ensures that I'm never going to be in a position where I'm worried about ammo. I can play those disadvantaged gunfights. I can push the spawn or the choke point, not have to worry about getting taken out because I'm in the middle of reloading. Then lastly, ergonomic rear grip, ADS benefits, slide to fire benefits, just allows me to play a little bit more aggressive and free flowing throughout a lot of the maps here. So big fan of the AMES right now. Hey everyone, real quick, want to give a shout out to my friends over at G Fuel. All month long, G Fuel is celebrating Anime, focusing on some of their awesome anime collabs and arts that they've got for various different flavors. They've got so many different flavors to choose from amongst their energy tubs, and of course, if you're just looking for some hydration, they've got their hydration packs that are phenomenal as well. As always, if you want to get anything at all from the G Fuel site, toss in code IMMORTAL at checkout and you'll save yourself some money. Link for that will be down in the description below if you're interested. The Kompakt is another choice that just absolutely decimates up close here in multiplayer, and because so many maps are so small still, you can really get away with using this in a lot of situations. Typically an SMG that is solely focused on the first 10, 15, 18 meters is not going to have that much room for usage because of varying map sizes, but so much action in BO6 multiplayer is up in your face that this ends up working out really well, and it just fries. The TTK is insane. So compensator, better vertical control outright. Ranger foregrip, better horizontal and mobility, and then also recoil springs, some horizontal, some vertical control. Accuracy is king with the Kompakt here because of this rate of fire. You want to make sure all your bullets count, so stacking all of those is fantastic. You can go extended 3 or extended 2 here. It really just depends on how much ammo you want and what you want the slowdown to be like, but with this rate of fire being 1091, you absolutely need an extended mag here, and quite frankly, I don't think 40 is enough with extended 1 on there. So 2 or 3, depending on what you want the weapon to feel like, opt for either of those. Then I like quick draw rear grip for that snappy ADS, helping out quite a bit. 185 is pretty solid. Without it, you're looking at a little bit of a slower ADS compared to some other subs, and this thing being so good up close, we want to optimize it the most for that, and with a setup like this, oh man, it feels fantastic. The KRIG is another super reliable option, relatively easy. Its control is a little bit more random than some other choices here, but also you knock out players so fast here in multiplayer with this, you're not going to get into the situations where the recoil is allowed to get crazy because that only happens after the first few bullets. You're accurate, those first few bullets are what you're going to be using to take out those enemies, right? So here again, surprise, that Kepler Microflex red dot. We got the compensator helping out with some of that aforementioned strange recoil, and Ranger foregrip will also help out with that while still keeping this decently aggressive. ergonomic rear grip, better slide to fire and ADS, and balanced stock for that better strafe and general movement means that this thing plays honestly kind of similar to an AR SMG hybrid, not as much as maybe some other choices, but still to a nice extent that you feel like you could run and gun with this thing and fry, but then also post up and watch a choke point with this thing, and all the same, it's going to work out well. Now, the Goblin is not a weapon that we've talked a ton about in multiplayer, but with Season 3 Reloaded, it got a pretty solid buff where basically, if you're hitting the upper body and you can spam this thing consistently, you're gonna just fry everyone. Like, this thing's TTK has such an insane potential after this latest buff to it. The key is spamming it as fast as you can and maintaining accuracy here. So this setup tries to optimize both of those. Use whatever optic you're comfortable with. For me, what do you know? It's the Kepler yet again. Compensator for the vertical control, huge when you're spamming, it's gonna keep you accurate, obviously. Vertical foregrip, huge for the control. When you're spamming, it's gonna keep you accurate, obviously. Extended 1 I do use because even this is just a 30. If you're spamming fast, you will go through that pretty quick. You could even upgrade to Extended 2 if you wanted to, but I think 30 is largely sufficient for most players. And then lastly, we want to spam it as fast as we can. Rapid fire will help out a ton with that. It only hurts your control here, not the damage or the range like on some fully auto guns. So if you can get used to this recoil control and keep it at that or close to max rate of fire, you're going to be really just confident in every gunfight, and other players just simply won't stand a chance. And then lastly here, I've got the AMAX. This thing still feels super consistent here in multiplayer, obviously with the TTK just being so much faster than Warzone. Many guns do, but this is one that it just feels like a tank. You are accurate with this thing, you are set, basically, is what it comes down to. Learn the recoil, learn how it plays in terms of mobility. It's a little bit slower than some of the other rifle choices that we've talked about, and you'll be good to go. So a little bit of patience with this one, learn its behavior, learn its feel, and you're all set. I do actually opt for the irons in multiplayer. I don't think they're too bad in this game at all, and I'd much rather save that spot for something else rather than burning an optic. So compensator, better vertical control, also some of that recoil stabilization, again, kind of appears out of nowhere. Vertical foregrip helping out with the horizontal, so this is going to be a super predictable recoil pattern because we're also stacking recoil springs on that as well. So definitely a recoil oriented setup here, but it pays off because you're going to melt with this because you're hitting shots consistently. Then I focus on some mobility because, as mentioned, it's a little bit heavier and slower than some other options. So quick draw rear grip for that fastest ADS possible. And infiltrator stock I actually really like with the strafe speed here, because once you are into that quick ADS, you can strafe around pretty consistently, and it kind of does catch opponents by surprise when you're turning the corner with an AMAX and moving at a decent strafe speed there. So bit of a different setup, which is nice to see. It's not just copy and paste everything on every setup, and it gets the job done nicely. So I'm a big fan of this one. Honestly, big fan of all of these weapons here. It definitely is an AR and SMG dominated meta right now in multiplayer, as it typically is, but you got some fun choices here in Season 3 Reloaded. That said, that's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you can always guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.